Hello, everyone. First of all, wish you all a very happy Holi and welcome to the session Speak Up Kalpana. So I'm Shivani Semwal, and today we have Neelima Kadirisani with us, who is a sustainability engineer at the DSM Engineering Materials in the Netherlands. And before becoming a sustainability engineer, she was an operations manager at the manufacturing unit of Tata Steel plant in India, where she led a team of more than 100 employees. So she is a materials enthusiast and believes innovative materials and material design can help in reducing our impact on the planet. Uh, which I totally agree upon. And so currently she is developing carbon emission reduction solutions and bio recycled alternatives for engineering plastics, which sounds really interesting. So today she is going to share what she does as a sustainability engineer and why she decided to become a sustainability engineer and her story, what challenges she faced when she was working in the steel plant, and why women must take up these jobs. So we are very excited to listen to your story, Neelima, and I'm very happy to welcome you today in our session. And thanks so much for joining us. So now, stage is yours.
Thank you, Shivani. That was a wonderful introduction. Good evening, everyone. Happy Holi to all. Really happy to be here. So, probably I should start by giving a disclaimer that I'm not here to give any advice as such. I'm here to just share my story, and I'll walk you through my journey and my experiences and my learnings from it. I think different people can have different learnings from the same experience. So for today, I hope that if you have your own interpretation of my story, and I'll be more than happy if it can help to improve your story. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen, Shivani?
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
So I come from a small town called Guntakal in Andhra Pradesh. Like many small towns in India, my town also lacked good educational facilities. So I had to move out of my town after 10th standard to prepare for engineering entrance examination. I secured a seat in metallurgical and materials engineering at IIT Madras. I think I should call myself I was a decent student. In my third year, I got a 2-month internship at Tata Steel. So first time in my life, I was out of the southern part of India for such long period. Well, except for once before for a short vacation. When I traveled there, everything was taken care by the company, the food, accommodation, transportation, and we were always accompanied by a mentor or a safety professional whenever we had to visit site or factory. I had an amazing mentor. Every time I visited factory with her, I was really amazed by her leadership skills and the way people actually respected her. I was really inspired, and I really wanted to work there. So all I had to do that then was to do my project very well, and I did it. Tata Steel offered me a pre-placement offer. I accepted it, and a year later, I traveled back to Tata Nagar, 1400 kilometers away from my home, amongst people whose language I hardly spoke, all by myself in my first job. So when I joined as operations manager in steelmaking unit, that's when I realized that what I saw in my internship was just the tip of the iceberg. Just to give you a snapshot of the scale of equipment we have to deal with every day, this is how it looks like inside the plant, and yes, this is the size of the humans there. So I was no more in the visitors gallery or accompanied by a mentor or a safety professional to go into the plant anymore. To put it in a simple way, it was like I saw 10 videos on how to swim, and I directly jumped into a 10-meter pool thinking I was a pro. When I think about it, probably if I had asked my mentor her story, I would have been better prepared. Well, it was not just me who had to face this reality. Tata Steel recruited 30 people from different universities that year, out of which six of us were girls. And I should say it's a good percentage because 20%, it's a big percentage compared to what women are there, number of women are there in the manufacturing sector in India, which is just around 6%. Though till that point, most of us had a similar story and similar backgrounds, but from there on, our paths diverged. And I don't believe there can be a right or a wrong path, but MBA was the most chosen path. But for me, I had a very important learning. So when you take up a job, generally the initial phase is the learning phase. So it rarely happens that you join into a job and you start contributing from the day one a lot. So the initial is the learning phase, and contribution is low, and slowly it moves on to the second phase where you contribute more. So for me, I realized that I had to swim through this whole hidden iceberg to discover what was on the other side. So the image I painted about the job was totally different. So when I say that, how different? I was the first female manager to the unit I was assigned. So though there were a couple of female managers in the whole plant, but for my unit, I was the first female manager. The team constituted of 100 plus men with varying experiences, some even around 30 years of experience. And though Hindi was most used language for day-to-day communication, but people often conversed in regional languages like Bengali, Odia, etc. And me, I was a fresh graduate from college, no prior industry experience, a female, and I could speak and understand only a little bit of Hindi. The situation was not only hard for me, but it was also the same for the people working in the factory as well, because it is their first time to have a female manager as well, right? So it wasn't working out very well for me in the beginning. The way I have seen my mentor in my internship, my journey to reach there, it looked almost impossible. So that's when that was a time I received an advice from the head of the department. He said, you cannot expect or you cannot demand respect just because of your title, just because you are a manager. He said you needed to earn it. I said, okay. Then I took a step back. I took a slightly different approach. So today, if I have to put it in a kind of a framework to say what was my approach, it would be observe, learn, adapt, and then assert. I started by observing what people do and what their jobs are, because in this environment, I can't just take my laptop, sit in a corner, and do all the jobs by myself. It would never work that way in a plant environment. I started to learn more, both technical competence as well as people skill. I started by reading all technical manuals to learn more about how different equipment work. Because iron and steel making is just a 4 credit course in a 4 year engineering degree. But there I was in a steel making unit. Everywhere it's steel. And also, I started talking to each and everyone who works in the plant, be it an employee, be it a contract worker, be it a cleaning staff, mechanical people, electrical people, automation, operators, etc. Literally everyone. And I learned something from each and everyone. Then I tried to adapt, learn and understand where they needed to do their jobs easier and a better way, and converse more in Hindi, and try to spend more time in the factory with people. Then soon I could see myself in a position where people started asking me for technical opinion. And I had a say in how things had to be done. People started asking me to make decisions, and I could assert my opinion. So, well, I reached finally where I wanted to reach, but it definitely took a good amount of time and efforts to reach there. This experience has taught me an important lesson: to never let a good crisis go to waste. We can transform a crisis into opportunity. So today, if I say, when I left this place, it was not just me who has learned from this experience, but if you see, the whole unit is much prepared to welcome more and more female colleagues now. When you think of working in a factory or a manufacturing unit, one of the key things that can come in mind are the working conditions, or most importantly, the amenities. So the working conditions and facilities vary from one kind of plant to another. This is how my working conditions, the shop floor looks like. And the temperatures there, the process temperature is around 1200 degrees centigrade to 1600 degrees centigrade, which in turn increases the temperature of the environment you stand and work. And amenities in my plant were not very welcoming. To an extent, it was understandable because the number of women employees were next to none. So it didn't make sense to build one ladies' toilet and maintain it. So this is me taking a review meeting in the control room. But lucky for me, there was one toilet there in this unit, which was very old and not maintained at all. So when you just say it's just a toilet, you can just adjust and go on. Well, that could be a possibility. But what if it was hindering my learning process? My progress. Imagine I come to the plant at 8 a.m. in the morning. I have to work there for 8 to 9 hours for 5 days a week. And not having basic amenities in place is something that I was not ready to accept. So if you see today, most of the companies have identified this as a gap and they are taking initiatives to bridge these gaps. Similarly, Tata Steel has also taken initiative to improve the amenities, especially for female, to welcome more and more female employees. But I couldn't just sit there and wait for my unit's turn. Probably it can be a year later or 2 years later. So I couldn't just sit there and wait for our turn. So I decided to speak up. I raised this issue to the head of the department, and it just took one phone call. And from next day, some of the resources were diverted to my unit, and the renovation work started immediately. Within months, I should say, all the old ones in my unit were renovated, and places where there was none, the construction of the new ones also started. So you see, the companies are working towards providing better working conditions. They want more and more females to come and work because they understand the importance of having diversity at a workplace. But my key learning was sometimes it is necessary to speak up, so that we can accelerate this change. So in short, these were the few stories from my experience in Tata Steel, or manufacturing unit that I wanted to share. But how did I, working in manufacturing unit, choose a career in sustainability? So my role as operations manager was just not process improvement or meeting the production targets, but it also included workplace safety, monitoring and reducing the emissions that come out of the plant. And that's when I learned that iron and steel industry, it's a very polluting industry, and it accounts for approximately 4 to 5% of total world CO2 emissions. And 2 tons of CO2 is emitted for every ton of steel produced. So what? I'm sure you would have heard about the term global warming or climate change. Though there are few people who still argue it is not true, but in 2015, Paris Agreement was signed. It's a legally binding international treaty on climate change. So it was adopted by 196 parties at that point in time. So the key goal of this is to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees, preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. So this has triggered multiple actions across the globe. like shifting to more and more renewable energy sources, reducing the impact of the products on environment. When I say products, products like the laptop you're looking into, the mobile phone that you have, even the water bottle from which you drink water, all these products. But most importantly, in order to reduce, we should be able to measure that impact. So that is measuring and reporting the greenhouse gas emissions. In India, it is still work in progress. So when we say sustainability in India, many people still associate it with just with to corporate social responsibility. That is, big companies who are mandated legally to spend some percentage of their net profit to CSR. But that's just not it. There is a science part of it too. And there is a requirement for more and more people who can understand the science part of it and who can act on it. When I say understand, so when I say 2 tons of CO2 is emitted per 1 ton of steel produced, what does that mean? What impact can it have and how can you reduce it? So it's not, and there is also a need for people in different levels of organization who can understand the science part of it and work towards reducing our impact on our planet. If you see today, many of the sustainability directors for every major company has a sustainability director, and every major company has taken initiatives to reduce their impact, reduce their emissions. They're looking for more and more raw materials that are coming from bio sources or recycled sources. Some companies even want to become net positive by 2030, 2040, 2050. So when companies are taking such ambitious targets, we need more and more people who will able to measure this impact and able to act on making better decisions to reduce this impact. I'm happy that my work today is in this direction. As a sustainability engineer, I measure the impact of a carbon footprint or environmental impact of our product that comes out of our manufacturing gate. And also we are constantly looking and working on solutions that can reduce this impact further and further. So my whole learning from my experience has been to speak up, dare to try, and challenge the status quo. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Neelima. That was an amazing story. Oh, is my voice echoing?
Not to me.
Okay, good. So yeah, that was
Yes,
an
please.
amazing story. Okay, is it okay now?
Yes.
Shivani.
Or maybe I'll
Okay.
shut it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was an amazing story and very inspiring. You were in Tata Steel plant where there were no females except you and no toilet. Yeah, that was amazing and very nice quote. Speak up, and that's what we are also aiming with our session. Speak up, Kalpana. That speak up for yourself. Come up and discuss and whatever you have in your mind. So don't shy. Just speak it up. So that is our main aim, and that's why we call our session "Speak Up, Kalpana." So that was amazing, and let's see if we have any questions. So to the audience, that if you have any questions, so you can write it in a chat box, or you can unmute yourself and directly ask questions to Neelima. So let's see if we have any questions. So in the meantime, when everyone is thinking of questions, so let me start. So yeah,
So, hi Neelima, the Darshana here. Thank you very much for such fabulous talk. I absolutely enjoyed listening to it. So, my question is from the perspective of, say, undergraduate girl who has finished her undergraduate studies and is probably working for a year or two, and then they are thinking about, higher studies and all. So, can you elaborate a bit, like, how did you make that decision that, okay, this is the place you want to go and pursue your studies in, and this is the kind of course you would like to study? Did you have any help from any mentors, or how did you sort of, go about making that action plan for yourself?
Thank you for that question, Darshana. So when I started to learn about more and more these aspects, both emissions and waste, then I started to take online courses. So on Coursera, you can find various courses on what is environment management or sustainability strategy. And I see Tata Steel has also taken many initiatives in this direction. So that was also one of the reason, though it's a 100-year-old company, it is a well-established company. It sees still a lot of need to make more actions in this direction. So at this point, I was triggered that when I learned more about this, there's a whole branch, and there is a whole set of opportunities, and there's a whole set of need for people in different levels, be it in operations, or be it in engineering, or be it in finance. In every sector, there is need of people who can understand and speak this language, and especially in material and developing design or material properties, developing products. So that's when I thought it's somewhere I wanted to learn more. How can it be done? So I wanted to learn more. So the content that I learned from the online courses was, I would not say it's sufficient. So that's the reason I thought, let me go deep dive and do a master's in it. I looked for different options across the world. I didn't constrict myself to just India. And I found the course in Bocconi University in Italy. So the course was called Green Management, Energy and Corporate Social Responsibility. And there are a couple of courses in a university called HEC Paris, or Yale University, some of the American universities. And I chose this particular university because the overview and the range of topics that they were covering, from the integrating sustainability in a business strategy, or the energy perspective of sustainability, and be it a corporate social responsibility, how to measure and report. So this program was offering introduction to everything. So that's the reason I have chosen to take this master's. So once I have taken this master's, that's when I discovered there are multiple fields just in sustainability. So today I work only on one part of it. That is, I do life cycle assessments. I do measure the carbon footprint. But there are so many aspects and phases. And when you say sustainability, it is different for different companies and different people. So I would say at that point, the range of options opened up to me, and I chose to find a place which has both my materials background and the sustainability background. So the company I work for, it's a materials company, so that's where I could find best fit for me. Does that answer your question, Darshana?
Thank you, Neelima, for that answer. That's very comprehensive and a very good explanation of how decisions are made when you are at a cross section of careers and opportunities. So thanks again for answering that part. I have other questions, but I'll come back to you on later on those. I'll leave the floor open to other people now.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, so Neelima, adding on to that question, when you were talking about opportunities, so you said that you decided you wanted to pursue sustainability engineer at the universities. I mean, you then decided universities. So do you know of any universities or places in India where one can pursue such studies, or one can look into that, okay, these are the places in India?
So in India, so when you say sustainability, you can go through the engineering stream. So the engineering's like mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, or materials engineering. So all these streams, you can still go and work in these directions. But if you say specific courses, there are a couple of university courses like environmental management and a couple of engineering institutes. And then you have Tata TISS, where there are master's program which are focused on sustainability studies, but they are more focused on social part of it, not very much on the science part of it. So for the science part of it, I would still say the engineering background is a very good background to get into it.
Okay. Okay, nice. And when you're saying major companies are, they have director in sustainability department or sustainability department at major companies. So what are those major companies?
You take any the top 500 companies, big companies, Tata
Okay.
Steel, Mahindra, Reliance, uh,
Uh-huh.
even the worldwide you take, be it Apple or Microsoft or IKEA, Samsung, big companies across the world or India, you see every company has a sustainability person, and it is more effective when this person directly reports to the top management. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that most of the organizations, I would say organizations that have taken good leap in this direction, you see they directly report to the CEOs, because the decision has to come from top. Just one person cannot revolutionize the whole organization. The whole when the whole organization has to shift to more sustainable, it has to come from top, and it should be an organizational mindset change. So for that reason, you see people working on the very top management. Even today, if you just look around and see what the CEOs speak in many of these talks, everybody touches this aspect of sustainability.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, everyone is now talking about climate change, sustainability measurements that they are taking. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Yes. So, okay, that's nice. Okay, I can see one hand raised. So, Sharmila,
Yes.
uh,
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Thank you, Neelima. That was a nice talk. Both from very refreshing from the perspective of getting the best from the environment and also going for what you consider valuable. I had a question. So, do you think developing carbon markets is a solution for diverting to a greener economy?
So developing carbon markets, it's already in place in many regions. So it is necessary to have a carbon price, and many companies are seeing that as an important step when they are making crucial decisions. When I say important step, because the projects that they select, new acquisitions that they select, or if they want to increase the production, if they don't credit for the amount of emissions that are going to come because of this organic or inorganic expansion or the investments that they're going to they're making, then it will be just purely based on the economic value, and they're forgetting the impact on the environment. So the concept of carbon markets, it comes into picture when you are trying to put the economic value on the impact on the environment. So most of the places it will definitely help, but how it is played into and how it is regulated, it is something we have to see how it's going to influence in real. But as such, many companies are having a carbon price system in place. So they put different carbon price. So they try to internalize this price and try to reduce it as well in current initiatives also. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, definitely. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. So, Nilima, so what kind of impact do you measure?
So let's take the laptop that is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your laptop consists of different amounts of plastic, silicon, metal, different objects. So this company, or the company that works for the company that is manufacturing, so it gets products from different places, and they assemble and they give you the product, right? So when you say plastic, or when you say some metal, so it starts from extracting fossil fuels or extracting metal from the ores, and there's a production phase where you use some amount of energy to put in to produce it. And so that then there are multiple intermediate steps till it reaches your place. So at each step there is certain amount of emissions that go into that we release. So when you say carbon emissions or the carbon footprint, it's just these CO2 emissions or the CO2 equivalent emissions that are coming from greenhouse gases from this whole value chain. But when you say environmental impact, So we can have different impact on environment by manufacturing just one product. So we can impact the land use change, or we can deplete the resources, or say suppose it's a bio-based product, the excessive use of fertilizers can disrupt the marine life. Manufacturing of one product can have impact on different aspects of environment. So this is when so there's a process called life cycle assessment, in which we try to understand different aspects, how production of one product has impact on different aspects of this environment. So when I say aspects, in its technical term, it's called impact categories. So when you just Google for, if you're buying an iPhone and you want to know what is the environmental impact or product environment impact of a phone or a laptop that you buy, you just have to, you Google it. Every company reports that how much percentage of each material goes into it, and what is the impact of this each material production on the environment. So some report only the greenhouse gas emissions, some report the waste, some report water. If there are some bio-based products, they report how much land use it has affected. All these aspects they report.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Let's see if we have any.
I have one more question. May I?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. So Neelima, this question is more regards with how the top global companies are sort of seeing communities that are not already on the sustainability map. Like, how is the corporate leadership looking at, say, remote communities in terms of, you know, sustainability and impact? Like, if you look at the way industrial development has gone so far, it is super urban centric, right? And anything in the sustainability is not complete without the mention of communities which are remote or which do not have access to the so-called urban means. So do you see a future for a student who wants to pursue something like this and aspires to work with remote communities? Like, what kind of trends are like globally sort of going in that direction?
Really an interesting question, Darshana. And so if you see, when you say remote communities versus the top companies' ambition, so every company reports their emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. So they are classified as scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Scope 3 is more indirect emissions, that is coming from all the purchased products or the employees traveling, etc. And everybody is working to reduce this scope 3 emissions as well. There are targets and they're reducing. But the other aspect of it as sustainability is the people part. So I'm not sure if how many of you have observed that when you buy some clothes, it says it is produced from organic cotton, or some says BCI cotton. And if you see some products that we buy from the market, we can actually trace back to which farm it is coming. We are seeing more and more such things being initiated. So to say, what I'm trying to say is these products have a very long and complicated supply chain. So probably a plastic that is produced in some part in Europe can have a supply chain that is linked to the supply chain in India. So the more and more transparent, one of the key aspects of it is to become more transparent. The supply chains has to be more transparent, reduce improve the people aspect in the supply chain. So when the big companies take actions, so it translates back till the last point, till the first tier of suppliers. So maybe to give a better example, like my company produces bio-based plastic, engineering plastic. So it's based on castor. You can make plastic out of castor oil. So this castor, it is produced in Gujarat region, India. So it travels from India, it goes to China, then another product is produced there. Then from there it comes to Europe, and we produce a different plastic here. So when we want to improve the supply chain, we have to trace back till India and try to understand what is happening there and improve there. So if we want to say we want to produce a sustainable and more green product, or a product which has less impact on, it has better working conditions for people, etc., we have to work with the communities there. And these many companies have also started these programs which are directly going to this tier 1 suppliers, and they're working close with these communities. So if you work for a big company, there's definitely an opportunity that you can trace back to the supply chains and work with these local regional communities to improve it. So it was a pretty lengthy answer, but I think did you get did it answer your question, Darshana?
Yeah, it did. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Sharmila, do you have any other question? I can still see you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, it's related to the previous answer that you gave. Can you give an example of how one can know the carbon footprint for everyday items?
So there are multiple calculators online which can give the impact of your daily. So you take a car and you travel every day 25 kilometers. Say suppose you're using a car. There are calculators online. You just have to Google it. So you find calculators that can give. But if you have to do it more integrated process, or in a company, we use a different software, and there are different methodologies, international standards that are available on how to calculate. But the best for a consumer, I would say, the best way is to look for the carbon footprint calculators which are available online.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't know about this carbon footprint calculator. So in somehow we can also contribute by checking at that how much footprint it has, or we can calculate, and maybe that's how we can decide if we need this stuff or not. Yeah. Okay, so are there any questions?
May I?
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Sure, Diksha. Yeah.
Sorry, Gunja. This
Gunja. Oh, this is Gunja.
Gunja
Okay.
is first.
for
Yeah, Gunja, go ahead.
question. I'd like to ask, like, some like can't ignore, and that's generating the carbon, like on and gas and water and electricity, something that we can't ignore at all. Then how we can reduce footprint?
Gunja, can you please repeat your question? Your voice was not clear.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Gunja, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to ask, like, there's some like some electricity, water, and a phone, laptop. That is our basic need of our life, and that also generate a carbon footprint, but we can't ignore it. Then how we can reduce that carbon footprint at an individual level? That is basic need.
That's a really nice question. So as an individual, we can do many things, but we can't completely change. So we have to do our part to reduce our impact. So first, I would say to speak up. So if you see the market, most of the companies, big companies, are targeting the customers in America and Europe. They're trying to give solutions. They're very competitive in giving products that have lower and lower carbon footprint. So if you see some even food, the shoe industry or the big companies, they're trying to give carbon footprint on the product. So the individual choices that we make, it can go as simple as carrying your own bag to the market when you're going for grocery shopping. So when you go there, you're not asking for a new plastic bag. So new plastic bag implies somebody is manufacturing another new plastic bag there. So as an individual level, this small things. So when you're buying clothes, you can look for the different type of clothes, regional, local, more of local sourcing. Sorry.
Gunja?
Maybe Gunja, you can type. That
Yeah.
will be better, because we can't hear anything that you're trying to say.
Yeah, so I would say as an individual, more awareness and more asking questions is the first step that we can take, and try and initiate these questions. And second thing is very simple things like the type of bottle we use, not buying extra materials that we don't need. And even if you want to need, just think about how you're going to dispose your old objects. So you buy 10 dresses today, but what is going to happen to the 10 dresses that you're gonna throw away? So is it just going to lie at the end of your lane in some dustbin, or is it going to some others for use, or is there a possibility that we can recycle it? So first thing would be improve our awareness. When we improve our awareness, then second thing is know where you're measuring your own impact. So like one of us asked, how do you calculate your impact? So see what is your impact, then from there you can start taking initiatives in your way possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. And even I can see, like at most places, people have stopped using plastics. So if you go for shopping, you need to carry your own bags. And even if you are going to any coffee cafe or any coffee shop, so you can take your own cup and fill your cup and just, I mean, don't use any other glass or cup, just use your own cup. So that kind of measures people have started taking up, and maybe we can also start doing that.
Yeah, similarly, the
Okay.
lighting in our house, the kind of lighting that we use, the incandescent light versus the new LEDs. So the new LEDs have use very small amount of energy. So one quick thing was maybe to just replace all your lightings with LED.
LEDs. Yeah. Okay. So okay, Diksha, you can unmute yourself and ask question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed your talk. I had two questions. First, I'm also interested in climate change and its effects in sustainability. So, I'm from a non-engineering background. So, are there some internships or opportunities I should be looking out for? And second one is that the policies. How much does the difference is created by them, right? Of course there are companies who are conscious about it, but there are also companies or business models who are not up to date with the current situation. So how much role does a policy at a very big level uh, plays into this? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So maybe I'll just go to your second question first before I come to your first question. So what role will policies make? I'll just give you an example. Probably a couple of years, not we didn't in India. Probably not many of us even bothered about how much pollution is coming, how much emissions are coming from our chimneys or stacks. But now you see, for many manufacturing companies, it is now monitored by the government. So when you know somebody is monitoring, when the companies know if you exceed certain limit, you're going to be fined. So there is an economic result or economic fine for emitting more. So that is triggering these companies to take more and more initiatives. So similarly, when there are incentives, so one way you can do is either you incentivize it or either you punish it. So the first example is to punish it. The second example is to incentivize it. Say, suppose you say to a company that you use more and more renewable electricity, we'll try to reduce your tax by some percentage or something. So this is a policy that can come from the government. So when you incentivize it, it is an economic incentive, and the companies are more favored to use those sources, shift more sustainable practices. So policies definitely have. So the best example which Shivani mentioned, the government included a policy to not use plastic. So that is in turn triggering all of us to carry our own bag to go to market. So so the impact of policy is really high. And coming to your first question, non-engineering background and opportunities. So I'll give the when I joined the masters, There were only 6% in the class who came from engineering background. So rest all were from diverse background. Some from international studies, some from there was even a teacher, some from biology. So many diverse background. So irrespective of your background, there are definitely opportunities in the sustainability field. So you can work on a business side that is trying to integrate sustainability into business strategy, or you can work on a finance side, or even you can work in the HR side. Many aspects. So sustainability is not just one field; it's multiple fields. Does this answer your question?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Himadri. Himadri, you can
Am I
ask.
audible?
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to ask that as every organization has this thing like sustainable development and carbon footprint, and everyone is considering this thing now. So, can we expect that in the future this field will be more valuable, or there will be more opportunities in this field as people and companies are getting aware of this thing?
Honestly, I should say I'm in this field and I'm excited for this field. So the better it grows, it's good for me as well. But you see, the number of opportunities, it's just my personal observation. The number of opportunities that were there couple of years versus the number of opportunities today, they're definitely high. And people realize the value of shifting this to this path, going into a more sustainable business. The economic value is higher, and it is definitely a growing, I would say, field. So I'm very positive and hopeful about it, and I think it's the need of the hour. So our past generation definitely tried and developed many technologies and many materials, but it's time for us to take actions and to reduce the impact on the environment. So if we don't do that, probably our future generations will not see what we, at least we have seen. So it's the need of the hour. So definitely this field is increasing.
So
Okay, thank
Himadri.
you so much.
Okay. Okay,
Huh.
that's nice. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have one more hand raised. Yes, Darshana, you can ask the question.
Okay. So, hi, Neelima, another question. So, it was really nice to hear about your moment of strength in Tata Steel. Like, you stood up and you spoke for yourself. So, I was just curious, like, what was your, like, one of the biggest challenge that you faced there? Because this is a very, very strong story of strength, but I'm sure there were challenges that you must have faced as a woman at workplace. So is there anything that you want to highlight?
No, I definitely. Thank you for that question. I think the key challenge was the acceptance. As a that's what my second story was more focused on. So when a female manager is in a position, so it was not easy for them to accept. And I, as a fresh engineer, fresh graduate from college, I wanted to do this, that, and you go in a place where people don't accept you, and there's a language barrier to communicate your ideas, and even your ideas, they don't take it seriously because I have not proven my technical skill, that they don't believe because I'm a fresh graduate versus you go and tell to somebody who has 30 years experience. So initial period, that was the biggest challenge for me. So for which I had to work through different phases to to prove myself and to get that acceptance and the respect that I was looking for.
So if can highlight some sort of skills and all, like, I mean, that you used in the sense like negotiation or communication, like in that sense, I'm just trying to understand, like, what sort of how do I say, characteristics sort of helped you navigate these challenges? Like, I mean, in a way, it's a workplace sexism, right? Like, how did you navigate this? Because this is one of the biggest challenges that women in STEM workforce face, like, not being taken seriously. So how do we sort of convey a message that goes out and loud and clear and doesn't sort of deter ourselves from our own motivation and what we like goal in particular?
Okay. So personally, what I have done is before I go and just put my ideas there, I did my homework. So I read all the manuals that were there. So I sat and read, and I did spend a lot of time sitting and observing. So when you're in a steel plant, it's just not a book knowledge that could help me to understand the process better. There are so many physical aspects of it, and it's you have to see. I just show you the picture of the scale of equipment, right? So it's a 50-meter tall building, and the lift in that building was not designed for one person to lift. It's an industrial lift, so I could never lift that building, use that lift without the help of another person. So personally, I made it a habit to go up and down twice a week. So I used to go and observe how different equipment worked, because understanding equipment was very essential for me to understand the process. So if the process stopped, or there was improvement that has to be done, I needed to have equipment knowledge. So if I didn't improve that, nobody was going to listen to me. So I did this homework of diligently every day, going and observing how different equipment worked. So whenever there was a small opportunity or a shutdown or a breakdown, so that's the time when you can closely go and look at the equipment. During running time, it's not possible. So whenever there was opportunity, irrespective of what people say, madam, it is very hot, don't touch it, don't go near it, you can't do it. I didn't bother. I just went and I asked the person, show me. They're like, it's very hot, you can't go it. I said, it's okay, I can go it. Don't worry about it. Just show me how it works. So it took a long time to do this process. So once I gained this knowledge about how equipment and how different equipment could affect the process, whenever there was a problem, I was in a position to say, okay, this equipment caused this problem, so probably you have to go and check there. So when I can say that in a command, knowing that, it was easier for them to understand, okay, she knows what she's speaking. Now they cannot say, oh, you don't know, you're just a fresh graduate, because I could tell them before that the problem is coming from this equipment, it is in this floor and this side of the plant, so go and check there. If you don't check next day, it's going to affect your production. So it did take a lot of work in Darshana, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
So, Nilima, is it safe to say that hands-on experience is super important at every stage of education and career?
Definitely. And especially if you don't go there, so you just reading from books, it's not going to help, because you need to stand there and see it for yourself. And once you see, things get more clear, and maybe your book knowledge can help you better to that point in time. You can think in a differently. Probably somebody is doing in this way, so you add a fresh perspective, saying, okay, previously I saw them doing it this way, probably if you do it in this way, it could have been easier. So once you observe and know how it is done on the shop floor, then you can actually use your educational background and give better suggestion to make things better. So definitely on shop, spending time was definitely a key and essential thing for me.
Thank you. I just wanted to emphasize this for our audience as well. Like being a women in STEM, if they want to, accelerate their growth, I think it's super important that they observe and enjoy hands-on things in every sphere of life, just not academics or, when they are in the job. So thank you, Nilima. That example perfectly highlights the importance of why the hands-on experience in STEM is super important for anybody to accelerate their journey and growth. Thank you again for answering all my questions.
Thank you for the question, Darshana.
And also those very important 4 points which you mentioned in your slide, that observe, learn, adopt, and assert. So assert. So we should follow this. We should observe, learn, adopt, and assert. So that was very nice. And I would say that these are the main key takeaways from here, that everyone should actually follow this. So that was really very a nice story. And let's see if we have any more question. And then I think we have no more questions. So before ending our session today, so I have one last question. So, Nilima, what advice you would give to students who are planning to switch to the field of sustainability, or they want to start a career in sustainability? So, let's say any undergrad student or postgrad student, so how they should start. So, what advice you would give to them?
I would say first see which topic interests you. So it's not like you there's one aspect of sustainability you have to focus. So try to understand what are the different aspects that are available. It need not be that you have to go to do some postgraduate or some masters or PhD only, then only you can enter the field. So you can do it in your job. So you are an engineer who is designing a material or probably designing a car, you never know. But the aspect of sustainability is think in a long term nature, how you can put things back into it. So I would say first try to understand which is your area of interest, and from there see you can already incorporate that where you are. And when you need more skills, don't be afraid to try and explore different things. That's when you will actually find what you would like to do.
Okay, so first starting with deciding field in which you are interested in.
Yeah,
Okay,
exploring,
and
not deciding, I would say explore.
okay.
Improve your understanding of these aspects. Try to learn at least first what are there.
Hmm. And this can be done at any stage of life, if you're
Any
studying or if you're working. Yeah, so this reminds me of a quote that opportunities don't just happen, you need to create them. So, yeah,
right.
so look for opportunities and try to find out what you want to do. So that was really a great talk, Nilima. And thank you everyone for joining us today and asking such great questions. So with this, I think we can stop here. So thank you so much.
Thank you
And
so much.
so
Thank
we
you for
can,
the opportunity.
yeah, so we can give a round of applause to Nilima. So maybe everyone can unmute yourself and just clap for Nilima.
Okay, thanks a lot, madam.
Thank you. Thank you so much.